Hello, hello, Redisonians, however you refer to yourself as someone who uses Redis. Um, I am Savannah. I'm a developer advocate here at Redis, and today I'm going to be working on adding a PyTest fixture to a pull request that I've already got ready for the Redis OM library. Let me throw a couple of banners up real quick for an introduction. The Redis OM Python library, you can find it here. And what I'm working on today is contributing to that and making sure that it doesn't lose any coverage by my contribution being accepted. So what do I mean by coverage? Well, pretty much every open source library and a lot of closed source libraries, a lot of private repositories, a lot of, production level code has testing embedded into the code itself, embedded into the repository, embedded into how people are allowed to make contributions that make it into production code. So that means that whenever you try to add anything to that code, you also have to add tests for your code. No one wants to commit broken code, and these tests are sort of a good front line for making sure that your code is doing what you think it's going to do. So yeah, I'll get started. I'll go ahead and share a screen for you guys, and we'll first take a look at what the issue is that I'm working on. And I am still working on this issue. It has not been accepted yet. For me to want to submit this as a full pull request, I don't want to be losing coverage. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'll show you in a second. You can actually see what percentage of coverage you lose. Also, someone leave a comment, please, if you can't hear me okay. I actually forgot to plug in my other microphone. But we're going to take a look at this issue first and get a little bit of a reminder. I actually streamed about this issue on Friday afternoon as well. So if you were here on Friday, you might be a little familiar with what we're doing. But today I'm going to add that PyTest. That way we don't lose any of our testing coverage. So the issue is adding a page function to solve issue number 284. And I'll pull that up in a second. So I created a draft PR for feedback on code and/or testing additions that should be made and where the right place to add those tests would be. Cool. And then I made a commit. And you can see here that our coverage goes down 0.12%. So realistically, if this was a really heavily sought out feature, and I had multiple people having eyes on it, having tested it locally, some different practices might say whether or not a 0.12% decrease in coverage really matters. But this is my first contribution actually to the Redis OM library. I want it to be a good one. I want to do dev best practices. So that's what we're going to do today. So you can see here that Simon Cricket, who is also a developer advocate here at Redis, has left me a couple of comments. We need to add at least one test for this to the test suites for the hash and JSON models. So there are two files where we'll have to add tests. And then he tried this locally and it didn't seem to be working quite correctly, but I have since made an addition to that where I added that the limit is equal to the count. Then I tried to merge code from a different live stream into this library, very much on accident. So then I had to revert back to this commit where I added that the limit equals the count. You can see here, because I'm a first-time contributor, I need a maintainer to approve some running workflows. This pull request is still a work in progress. I'm not marking it ready for review yet because, like I said, I want to get that PyTest fixture in before that even starts. So we'll take a look at the issue first. And we'll find it. I know about where it is. Adding a page function for find. Allow a user to page through all results rather than returning them in one go. Oh, I think I fundamentally misunderstood what this was. So I was reading this as adding a page function where they were getting one page full of all the results, but I don't think that's the case actually. So not a hard change though. We're gonna go and look in the Redis model.py, and we'll scroll down. Actually, what we're gonna do is just do a Command F and find my page parentheses function. So here, let me make this a little bit bigger. You can see that what I did was add that the page size equals the count, the offset equals the offset, and then in a different set of this code, because you can actually see up here if you can read this, this folder is called my Redis testing app. So it doesn't always stay as well synced as it should. So what we're going to do is, instead of the page size equals the count, we're going to do the limit equals the count. And we're actually going to take that out for now. And then we're going to hit save all. You know, rereading that issue, I really think that I misunderstood this when I first started it, but that's okay. This stream might have been called Savannah Struggles in Snake Case, but that's fine. We'll figure it out rather than returning them all in one go. So I was thinking, because of the way that the node library looked, to me, I thought I was returning one page of just however many results they asked for, but it seems like instead, this is, you're trying to page through the results. Pagination not working with exceptions. Yeah, so this is actually us trying to implement pagination instead of trying to get one whole page. So whoops, I fundamentally misunderstood this. And interestingly enough, Simon didn't notice it either, that we were sort of doing the wrong thing. So here we're going to look at this. Since he added this link to a comment, I'm going to look here and see how, if the offset is greater than 0, we're paginating through a result set. So append the new results already in the cache. Okay, so pagination already exists, which is good because that sounds hard to implement. And I have not contributed to this library before, so difficult tasks would be hard for a first contribution. Yeah, so I think that'll, I don't know what window that is, but I think just doing the page with the offset and the limit should default with that pagination. And we probably do want to, let's see, that used to have an exhaust results equals false because I wanted to limit that page to however many things we had. But now we probably don't want that since we do actually want that pagination. Cool. So how we're going to test that real quick is, because I am in my Redis OM testing app, is I've got a Flask app sitting here in this library where I've got food truck data that I streamed a couple of weeks ago now with Justin, and we did some search stuff with it. So what I've already done is in my app.py file, there's already a, if I knew where it was, that would be cool. That's people stuff. We'll do Command F for page again. Well, like I said, maybe this is actually the wrong folder. Give me 1 second here to see if we open up a new window, whether or not that app.py file is updated elsewhere. All right, well, it wasn't there. Maybe I'm just really bad at saving things. That is probably the case, frankly. Organization is definitely something I need to work on, especially for instances like this. All right, well, we only need 2 things for this query, so we'll go ahead and real quick write a route for this one. Just gonna make sure real quick. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. Okay, so an app.route for page, and then we can call it an int limit and an int offset. So our limit is the total number of things that we want returned, or a hard limit on the total of number of things that we want returned. And then the offset is going to be how far from the beginning we start getting those results. So for instance, I've already looked at, I've been testing this app a bunch. I already know what the first 2 things are. So maybe I set the offset to 2. That way I can get the rest of the things. And this might be helpful for queries and other reasons where you already know your data is sorted in a certain way. Anything like that where you just say, ignore the first X things, offset my results by that many, and give me this many back. So that'll be our offset and our limit. So def get paginated pages. And we'll pass it the limit and the offset. And then we will say that our match, for testing, we'll say match events. Let's do vendors, because there's actually a lot more vendors than there are events. So we'll use vendors. That way I know there's plenty of data in there. .find. I'm pretty sure we can leave this empty, but we'll find out. So leaving that empty, I'm pretty sure is going to just do basically like a match all on everything. Like there are no restrictions. And we're going to pass that page function, the limit. And I think I put the limit first. Nope, I put the offset first. So offset, comma, limit. And then we will return, we'll do this build vendors of the match vendors. And this build vendors function, it's basically copied and pasted from this build results that Simon had already written. This particular app that I'm using to test, Simon Pickett actually started with some people data in a repository that's also open. I can flash that up on the screen later if anyone's interested. And it was a basic Flask app to start talking about JSONs and some search stuff with that. So he had already written this function, and basically what it is it takes the response that you get from Redis, from that search query, and turns it into a dictionary of results. That way I can return it to the browser, and it can be like human readable for you guys, and like the browser will accept that as something it can display. So we'll save all. And then here, what I know I need to do, because I've been using this, is I need to go to my Python environment, bin activate, and we're going to do Flask run. And then in a handy dandy terminal, I'm going to exit the Redis CLI. Then I'm going to make this bigger, clear it out. And, oh, that's not the right folder. So that's probably what my issue is, but that's okay. This folder is great. And then we'll run Python 3 data loader.py. And you can see here all of these responses. We're creating all of these vendors. Great. Who's hungry? Lily Bird Barbecue, just all of these vendors of food trucks that are in the San Francisco general greater area are in here. Cool. So they're all there. I'm going to check and make sure that the indexes were run. So I'm going to open up Redis CLI. I don't know how well you can see that. Yeah, so I'll open up Redis CLI and do an ft._list. And I can see that my food truck vendor index, my food truck event, and my food truck location have all been indexed. So great, everything's working like I'm expecting it to. So then if I go to my browser and I pull up my Redis testing app that I know is on port 100, I can do /page/2/2. And there we go. These are definitely events, assigned vendors, and start and end time and locations. I definitely wrote that wrong. I absolutely wrote that wrong. Vendor.find. Save all. And because for whatever reason, my environment here won't stay a development environment, I'm going to quit this again. And I'm going to do an export Flask env equals development. And we're going to see if that, nope, okay. Make Flask env development. I did this wrong the last time too. Okay, that seemed to work. So now when we do Flask run, that environment still says production. But anyways, the only thing that's really strongly different for our purposes is that if it's a production environment, when you change that app.py file, it won't automatically restart for you. In general, if you're actually, using a product app somewhere, you don't really want it to restart as soon as you make a single change. For development environments, you probably do. So I will figure that out here on the side. But this page will have reloaded, and we should now have banner URLs and names and a logo URL, cuisine. Cool. So that, that gave us back 2 things, and we said that we wanted a limit of 2. But let's go look in model.py and see if we can't find a default page size. So, this execute function, we've got pagination, cool. But is there a default page size in here anywhere? I want to know, because what I want to do is see what happens when I ask for more things than are going to be on a single page. We sort of just tested it out that it works for only 2 things. In general, a page is probably going to be more than 2 things. That's really not a lot of data for you to get back at once. One of the main reasons for pagination is the size of these pages. If you ask for 1,000 things, it takes a long time, and it's all going to be done at once. So you're basically just going to be sitting there with waiting for these 1,000 things to come back. Whereas with pagination, you can you get 10 different pages. So each one of those things is smaller. You can sort through those results a little more easily. It's just a little bit easier in general if you're doing large searches to be able to page through your results. So what is the default page size, if there is one? We'll search for page size. Just the query.page size. The default page size is 1,000. Okay, so for our purposes, we're just going to drop that down to 10 and hit save. Am I going to have to remake that? Did I need to remake that already? Am I actually even testing my change? So we'll hit save all. We'll hit Control C, and then we'll run make all real quick, just to make sure that I am actually correctly testing. Nothing concerning so far. Lovely. Lovely. Okay. So now that I know for a fact that the default page size that I'm working with is 10, I am using the most up-to-date page function that I've tried. We'll do another Flask run. And we'll exit this. And just to be sure, we will make sure that all of these are created. They should be, but we're making sure for everything today. So now our page limit offset, and we know that our page is only 10 things long. So if I ask for 20 things, I should only get 10 right here. Should I have only gotten 10 right there? Or does this build vendors? Is that build vendors going to hide my page pagination? Because it's going to put them all into one thing. What does a page even look like in Redis? At least my struggle will live on in eternity on YouTube as I go through all of these cases and figure out what I'm doing wrong. So my assumption would have been that I should only get 10 things back because I changed that default page size explicitly to 10. So when I ask for more than 10 things, I should get a page of 10 back and then another page of 10 back. But I'm not sure how those results are being parsed. And honestly, this looks like more than 20 things. So let's see, 1, 2. Let's just do a Command F on banner URL. Because there should only be one banner URL per vendor. And that says we've got 6,986. Cool, so that definitely did not work. Very clearly did not work. Let's try it again with 2 to see if we fundamentally broke it. Oh, no, that's still 20. And even with 2, banner URL. Oh, well, now we've only got 700. Oops. Well, let's go back to code. So what did I change here? I changed this default page size to 10, which that shouldn't affect how many results we get back. That should affect how we get those results back, but it shouldn't affect the number of results we get. So let's go back to my page function where we have a limit and an offset. Oh, and it's because I put the offset first, not the limit. So let's, oh goodness. Okay, let's fix all of that real quick. Okay, we're going offset and then count. Save that. In app.py, we'll find our page, limit, offset, limit, offset, limit, offset. This might not be the issue, but for my own sanity, I need to say that it's always limit and then offset. And of course I scrolled, there it is, okay. Limit, offset. Oh, limit, offset, not offset, limit. Limit, offset, limit, offset equals offset. Okay, save all. Our limit, and then our offset. Our limit, and then our offset. Good, cool. Everything matches now. We'll kill this. Make all again. I definitely don't need to do make all, but I haven't looked at this make file in depth, so maybe we can do that for a second while it runs. Install packages, run code linters. Please use make target where target is one of. Install prepare environment. That might, maybe. Code linters. I don't need to reformat code. Tests. I don't have a test yet. That's what we're trying to do. Shell, no. Make Redis, start a Redis instance. Probably not. I've already got a Redis instance in Docker. Sync, probably not. Build a Redis home package. Maybe. Upload a Redis home package to PyPy. Maybe. Probably not. So, okay. Make all. We'll keep make all for now. And then we'll go flask run. Oh, that's, yeah. Run. And then we'll hit refresh. 2/2. Still getting Command F, not Control C. Banner URL still 700. Okay. But if I change that to 20. No, not 2. 20. Okay. Command F. Now we've only got 696. Why is this number changing like that? Okay. I guess another question is, how many food trucks do I have? Food trucks JSON. Let's see, where does vendors start? Oh, that's not helpful. Actually, no, that is helpful. Command F4 banner URL. So we've got 437 banner URLs, but in here, they won't necessarily be empty. So what about cuisines? 703. Okay. So if they've all got that cuisines as an empty list, which I think they do, I think that's a required thing. It looks like they all have that. So that 703 should be our maximum. So how on earth did I have 6,000 earlier? That doesn't make any sense. Well, now the 700 makes sense at least. So for banner URL here, 696. That's off by a weird number. That's not off by 2 or by 20. I mean, cuisines should have the same number because we've made banner URL and cuisines both required now. So 696 when I asked for a limit of 2 with an offset of 20. Well, limit, passing that the limit first. And like you can see, so this find with no variables, like that does actually work. It just returns me everything. Hello. So this find, no variables, that works. That's great. But this limit is not working anymore. So it used to be that I was setting the page size to this limit. But then I reread that issue, and that's not what we were going for with that issue in general. So I'm trying to figure out why not. Maybe I do need that exhaust results to be true. And we'll hit save all. And we'll kill this. Make everything. maybe that exhaust results being defaulted to false. Maybe that just means that they're going to ignore my limit. Seems like the limit, I mean, I don't know, both make sense to me. So maybe we'll go investigate that a little bit further in a second once we see whether or not that fixes this for us. I'm going to take a sip of water. You should too. Water is good for you. Yeah, so last run. The environment's still production because I have again forgotten how to fix that. And then limit of 2 with an offset of 20. We should just only get 2 things. We do not only have 2 things. Okay, well, let's go back here because when I had this, it did only give me 2 things back. Oh, because that's when I had the page size as count. So I was restricting the page to be the same, to be exactly how many things you're asking for. So that's why it's not quite working the way that I was expecting. So what does this say? We append the new results to the results already in the cache. In the execute command. The exhaust results is because I don't want exhaust results true. Silly. I want exhaust results to be false. Save all. Kill this again. Make everything again. And I am actually listening to music whenever I bop my head. Listen to some classical music that I can't play through stream because I have no idea if it's copyrighted. But I listen to a little bit of music. That way it feels, when I'm live streaming, I tend to want to feel like I'm doing my job, but just talking out loud as I go through it and responding to any comments or questions that we get in chat. So for me, that means a little bit of classical music, just playing in low volume. And that way I'm, talking you through what I'm doing, explaining everything. Just makes it feel a little bit less like a void. So now that that's remade with exhaust results being false, we'll start it up again. And we'll go here and see if we only get 2 things. Woohoo! Yay. We only got 2 things. So now let's check what happens when we ask for 20 things and an offset of 2. Do we only get 20 things here? We've only got 20 things here, but our default page size is 10. So that's cool that we got 20 things. It kind of works. So this initial issue, the issue, said that the Redis OM node was a good example. So what I'm going to do in the background is pull up where I asked someone on my team where they thought would be the right place for that. And we're going to pull that up over here. It said line 199 is where their page function is. So 199, we've got an offset, an account. That's great. We're going to do that call search with the offset and account. And that's basically it. Okay, so what does their call search look like? Limit options and offset and account. Line 449, search options. Okay, so that seems That seems like what I am trying to do pretty exactly. So I guess the question is, maybe let's do this. We're going to pull up the Redis CLI, and we're going to run monitor. So monitor is going to show me what actually happens in Redis, like what commands actually get pushed to my Redis instant when I run anything on that same port connection. So 6739, sorry, 6379, and you can see here, maybe you can't see, but my Docker instance is running on port 6379. So I've got monitor running here, and I'm going to hit refresh on that. So ft.search, our food truck vendor index, star for, give us back everything, and then a limit of 2, and then 20. But it's not seeming to, interesting. Limit 2 and 20. So it's just sort of going for it. It's not specifying that that's the offset. And those seem like they're in the wrong order because the limit is 20. The limit's the first thing we're passing. That count, that limit, and our app.py is that limit, and that's the first thing we're passing. So that limit should be 20, and the offset should be 2. So given that all we got in this ft.search is this limit 2 and 20, I'm going to go Redis ft.search arguments. Oh, goodness. Okay. There's a lot of them. Is offset 1. Limit the results. Limit the results to the offset and number of results given. The default is 0, 10, which returns 10 items starting from the first result. Limit the results to the offset and number of results given. So 2, 20. That is what I want. Okay. Yeah. So that should be what we want. And we are getting 20 things back. It's just that instead of actually paginating through these results, you just get them all at once, which is not ideal. So why not? Let's look here. Reset the cache if we're executing from offset 0. If the offset is greater than 0. Oh, so does this mean maybe putting the result set? Oh, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're returning it as pages. This issue might not actually be what I thought it was. So like, it sort of works right now where it does what I initially thought it was supposed to do, which was take an offset and a limit and give you back that many things at once. It does now seem like the goal of this issue was to have an offset and a limit and then break that into chunks and return you, I don't know, an array of those chunks. And that's where it gets into, I would have to modify this execute command. I'm not sure if I'm reading that issue correctly or not anymore. So what am I going to do about that? Well, considering Simon didn't comment on that, and he did comment on it not working the way he expected when he was getting too many results, I think this might be what the intention was. But what I can do is I can push these changes and I can then say, hey, this is my assumption, blah, blah, blah. I'll add some commentary, all good. But I do think this is useful, even if it's not exactly what this issue wants. This function would still let people say like, hey, offset by this many, give me this many things all at once. Yeah, that is definitely not what the issue said though. But that's okay. We're going to test it. And we're going to test it first in the JSON model. Let me check in on one other thing real quick. So, yeah, we're going to test it. It's definitely not actually what that issue was asking for, but it could still be a fun feature since, you know, maybe you know exactly how many things you want and you don't want to paginate through the results. You just want everything in one page. Oh, but that probably already happens. That's probably like the default behavior, isn't it? If the default behavior does what this page function does, yeah, I think that's accurate. I think this doesn't add anything. I don't think this adds anything right now. So maybe we're not going to test it. Yeah, it definitely should have called this stream today Savannah Struggles in Snake Case. So test paginate query. Okay, that's cool. Assert actual member 2, member 1, member 3, sorted by age. So right now I'm going to look at this. So this says test paginate query. So now I'm wondering if things already being paginated and this is what I need to be doing or not. I'm not sure anymore. So I'm going to look at this test paginate query to try and see if that makes sense. What is this batch size equals 1? Let's look back here and look at what batch size does. Because if that batch size is something that we need to change to get a single page with our default page size, I guess. I don't even see that batch size in here. Okay, so Command F for batch size. Okay, so that batch size forces the page size and the limit to be that batch size. So they forced a single page to be all the results here. Unless, well, yeah, so if you overwrite that, then that still gets passed into both those things. So this all query gives you all the results you're asking for at once, which is what this page function currently does, instead of maintaining the default page size. So why is it not maintaining the default page size. What if we run, let's control C, because that'll take us out of the monitor. So if we do ft.search on food truck dot vendor index, the most human readable index names ever, star search, limit to 20. And we got 41 results with a 1 and a 2. So that means we got 20. So why are we not getting a page of 10 and then another page of 10? And that's another thing. Maybe we are, and it just all gets pushed into one. That doesn't make sense. So I'm pretty sure right now this function is completely useless. I'm 98% sure, and we can check. So what I'm going to do is add, actually I'm just going to copy this, paste it here, and we're going to do all and get all pages with that same limit and offset, because in our model.py, that all, it just takes a batch size. So we'll only pass one of those things. Oh, okay. Well, no. So if there's no offset in this one, then maybe this function does add that. But yeah, okay. So there's no offset there. So that's not really what the intention of this issue is to add, though. It's not just to add the offset to the all function. That would be as easy as saying like offset equals 0. And then like offset equals offset. And then obviously I would also test to make sure that like that actually worked, but that's not what we're trying to do here. We're not attempting to add an offset to the all command. We're attempting to add a page command. Maybe I'm just misunderstanding what this page command is supposed to do. And just like in real life, there's no one on this stream with me to tell me if I am or not. So our limit and our offset, it kind of does what I asked it to do right now. But for whatever reason, it doesn't seem to be respecting our default page size of 10. Or if it is, then the results aren't being passed back in the way that I'm expecting. And we're still just getting all of them at once. So maybe instead of in our app.py, maybe instead of doing this, what we're going to do is return a string tried, because you have to have a return value. But what we're going to do instead is print match vendors. And this won't work in a production environment. So I do have to actually take a minute here to figure out, again, Flask and development configuration handling, because this will enable debug mode. It says export. I already tried that. Maybe it didn't like that I did it in all caps. Oh, that's annoying. Okay, Flask run. And now I've got environment development. Okay, cool. But first I need to save everything. And did I change this function? Did I change that file at all? I don't think so, but we're going to be safe. I'm going to make sure that I do that make all, because I don't want to start testing it and be like, oh, darn it, I accidentally did not do that this time. And it doesn't take a super long time. It's a little annoying, but I would rather make sure that I am testing what I think I'm testing and take the extra 3 seconds. And then we'll do a Flask run. We're in development. So now when I do this, there's no current event loop. Oh. Well, that's unexpected. I haven't seen that before. That was very much not what I was expecting. Maybe let's try quitting out of our Redis CLI and doing data loader. Oh, and now we're getting 500 errors. Okay, cool. So something is reset. This says it's still running. Go back. But our connection was broken. And reset. But we're getting 500 errors. So I guess let's stop this and start it up. And do a little redis-CLI. ft._list, and this should still have all that information. So that's cool. And it also means that our connection's no longer broken for right now. And then we'll run that data loader and we'll still get 500 errors. I wasn't expecting connection errors. I was expecting much different errors. So where is it? Okay. In error catcher, if during the handling of the above exception, connection reset by peer. Is there anything in here that looks like it's something? Oh, okay. So it is for chunk in this chunk size. Protocol error, connection broken. An incomplete read. Okay. So if it's an incomplete read, what if, but no, this is when I'm trying to create things. This isn't even when I'm doing the queries. So my code changes because I've added this one function. I know it's only the one function. I'm not even calling any functions in model.py. I'm just trying to connect, and we're getting a connection reset whenever I try to use the data loader function. There's no current event loop in thread 249. I'm pretty sure a 500 error is like not my fault. Well, I mean, it obviously is. Internal service error is a collective status code for server errors. At a first glance, cool. It is not possible to determine where the error actually lies. Go away, add. Okay. So how did I break my connection? Lovely. Hey, this is live streaming, I suppose. I am going to take a second and message a fellow developer advocate and just ask, yo, getting chunked encoding error exceptions. Yeah, well, let's see if anyone has any ideas. It means that the server could not run your script. I have a syntax error. So I would totally agree that it means I have a syntax error somewhere in here, but like, if we can scroll back, like, I haven't touched the data loader script this whole time. And like, I guess there was one 400 error in there. But like you can see here, like we've created these vendors before and like their indexes exist. So like if I do a Redis -CLI and ft._list, like their indexes exist. So like that data loader script has run before successfully. And realistically, it might mean that I did something weird where now instead of it's saying that it created them, even if they already existed, maybe it's yelling at me because they already exist. So I guess we'll try and just see. So that's, yeah. But so when I try to do anything, like when I try to like run this function, I'm getting that there's no current event loop. So let's run monitor again. And if I refresh this page, what did that give me back? Oh, nothing. So it's not successfully connecting to Redis anymore. Because like, you know, earlier in here when we ran monitor and then we refreshed this page, we saw that like ft.search and then those options. And that's when we went to that ft.search options page. And now when I try to run this, like nothing happens in monitor. So it's not trying to connect to Redis, which is probably, well, potentially also why it was saying 500 is because it's like there's something, I can't talk to my server and I think it's the server, but I don't, it's probably not actually the server. Although what we can do is stop this, go to Google and do Redis stack Docker. I want the container, because I know this page that's right here will give me this. And then I'll go here and run that. Oh, and this says we were unable to find the Redis stack server latest locally. This should be the Redis stack. I don't actually know how to view this whole name, but like it's Redis stack with an L. Like that should be the Redis stack latest. But I guess maybe Redis stack server. Oh no, this is the one I want. I don't want the server. Although, would that be a bad thing? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's try this all again. Hit Control C. Start up our Flask app. And then in here, we'll try to run dataloader.py. And no. Connection is still broken. And a connection reset error. So like this dataloader.py script, like it hasn't changed since a while. The Flask app has to be running because it basically just posts a bunch of these events for me. So why are these all getting 500s? And like, there's no current event loop. Maybe if I Googled that. Because like I said, like this script, I've run this script earlier today without touching it. So I don't, like nothing in there has changed. Now it says it has because like I've clicked around and like highlighted stuff, but, or it's got this like import requests. It says it can't be resolved, but that's a lie. Visual Studio Code is lying to you. There's no current event loop. Yeah, I'm gonna copy this and I'm gonna Google Redis. I have an async function and I need to run. There's this Python code. Async IO dot set event loop. So because this is an async, maybe I should do something like that. Maybe I should do like async dot, no, async IO dot match vendors equals that. No, that's not, that shouldn't be how I have to do this, because like dot all is also an async function. Like I don't have to do anything like that. Although this does return await. So does this. Do not do this. It's completely pointless. Bad things will happen. A separate thread, running multiple event loops. This makes another loop. The important thing hasn't been mentioned is why this error occurs. Let's take a look at this. It's only executed if some conditions are met. Okay. Get the event loop. This may be none. So this self.event loop is only executed if local underscore loop is none. So if that is none, okay, because no loop is set in the current thread. But I'm not like trying to do any of that. I'm not getting this low level into the code. It's like this no current event loop is doing something unexpected. Get event loop. App.py. My page function. So like now I'm trying to just like print our match vendors. That way I can see like what that page is supposed to look like. And I'm not sure what changed between when this was working and when it wasn't. I mean, I know what changed because I, did this, but that shouldn't. So always reading answers that are like, let's see, where was I? On Stack Overflow, just give me that one. Like this one doesn't even have any that have a green check. I guess this one does, but it's the third one down. So, also because like I'm not writing this deep of level in my code, like I'm not trying to get into this like async IO.get event loop stuff. sometimes I'll read other answers on Stack Overflow because someone else might have like closer to my exact use case. You know, this guy posting doesn't have my exact question. So I, you know, for context and for why people do different solutions, I've generally found it really helpful to read a couple of answers on Stack Overflow. You know, unless you do have like exactly the same problem, like this person's like using App Scheduler, like I'm not using App Scheduler. You know, if you do have like an exact problem with someone, then yeah, like the accepted answer is probably going to fix your problem as well. But if you have like a tangential question and this is just like the closest thing you got, then like, you know, this one will probably have a different accepted answer. You know, this is like a join and shut down. So like it just sort of depends on how close the question that's being asked is to your question, like whether or not, I guess like how much value I place on that green check mark being what I'm going to need personally to, you know, fix whatever issues I'm having. We're going to try this again. 500 errors still. So what even changed? This hasn't changed. Let's do Control-C and get status. That's not. Get status. So get diff app.py. Oh no. Yeah, because this is only going to show me the difference between what I last committed, which is exactly what it says it's going to do. I just forgot that I had added that whole function this time. Why on earth? Would this be giving me a 500 error? Oh, well, my Flask app isn't running right now. Well, it probably was. Okay. There's no current event loop. Oh, so it's just mad. So like, this is supposed to be a home page where it just says like Redis basic CRUD operations. So I have messed something up even more than I thought, which is so much fun on live stream in front of all you lovely people who were hoping to learn something, and instead you're just going to learn what not to do. And realistically, the answer there is make sure you have a better understanding of issues before you start solving them than I did. I got a link from someone. There's no current event loop in thread main thread. Describe the bug. Expected behavior. That seems cool. That seems like similar to the bug I'm having. Okay. Happens when a sig term is fired to the worker. At some point, Control-C to the server, but I'm not doing that. It should close the server without erroring. That's fair. And I don't have the main thread. So maybe this is not quite. It's close, but not quite. There's no current event loop in. What is Redis anyway? Redis is a database, essentially. You can use it as a cache. It's pretty quick. It's small. Redis stands for Remote Dictionary Server. So it's a pretty fast open source in-memory key value data store. Redis, I've been using it here as a database where I'm uploading all of these food truck JSON data, and I'm attempting to add a function to the Redis OM library, which I'll throw on screen again. The Redis OM Python library does object management. So it sort of makes it so that I can query things a little bit easier. I can do full text search on some things easier. It's great, it's cool. Almost all of Redis is fully open source. So if you want to start adding some open source contributions to your LinkedIn, to your resume is the word I was looking for, I think Redis is a great place to start. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is make my first contribution to the Redis OM Python library by solving an issue. But this runtime error, where there's no current event loop, is throwing me. So what I'm going to do is close out of a decent number of these things. I'm going to shut this down. I'm going to stop my Docker container. Maybe we'll go back to this one. So first things first, I'll start up my Redis container. And I'm going to make sure it's working. I'm going to do redis-cli. I'm going to do monitor. And it says okay, so like it's connected. Something's listening on port 6379. I can do like a set test set value. Let's do ft._list. And our indexes are still there. That's great. That's cool. It means we don't actually need to run the data loader.py script again. Hypothetically, all this data is already there. So I should, if I do this ft.search on our vendor index with that same limit as before, I get all 20 vendors back, which is where we're at. Like it kind of works, but it kind of doesn't. But it means that worked. That ft.search worked from here. So now if I do a Flask run and go here, is that actually from right now? That's from right now. Okay. Yeah, so that's before I even try to call any functions. So something has gone dramatically wrong. This migrator should be. So let's see what happens if I kill this and run Python 3 app.py. Okay, that ran. That's cool. That's promising. Maybe. You guys ever have those issues where it's like, oh, I'm sort of glad that was expected, but also sort of not? Because if it wasn't expected, then I would have another issue to be able to look at. But it is what I expected, so I don't have any more hints yet. The eternal dilemma of whether or not I would have someone easily fix my mistakes because it means it was an easy to fix mistake, or not because it means that I didn't miss an easy mistake. Models, migrator, database, get Redis connection, connection pool, async IO lock, get event loop, no current event loop. I don't have any actual idea how to fix this. Yeah. So like this app.py, this importing the migrator, like that should not cause a runtime error. But it is. And I am in fact connected because I can do searches on port 6379. And like this is on here, but like that doesn't really matter. What matters is that like this, so like that port 5000 is a totally different thing than like the port where Redis is running. And like, we know that like these were all talking to each other earlier. We had results displaying earlier. So why isn't it displaying anything now? You know, it's not like I'm not getting 400 errors. It's a 500 error. And I don't know why. Import migrator. Well, import migrator. That migrator should get run at the bottom of this. It does, and that's where I get all of the indexes. But hypothetically, right now, I've already got all the indexes. So I'm gonna comment that out. And I'm gonna comment this out. And I'm gonna save it. And then I'm gonna run Flask run. And we're gonna see if it still dies. It absolutely still dies. There is, oh yeah, well, here, I can close that one and just refresh this one. There's no current event loop in thread 8 or 14 or 20. Import, yeah, like there's no current event loop. All right, well, I'm gonna be honest, folks. I don't know how to solve this problem just yet. An event loop policy change. An event loop policy change. Set event loop. Oh man. Oh, so that's, if it might be that gets into more of the core of Redis OM than I am comfortable changing for a very first contribution. I'll be honest, folks, and say that I might just go and create an issue about this one. I am going to do a little bit more testing, and I'm going to probably grab up here later today and test it out. Thanks for hanging out. Maybe you'll see an issue about this in my next stream and see if we can get someone to fix it or see if they tell us to try. But for right now, since this would be my first contribution to Redis OM, I'm more about adding a page function than I am about changing the actual event loop policy, or like addressing that policy change. So unless anyone has high-level questions, I think I'm going to end stream a little bit early today and go see if this is, you know, a real issue, or if this is a it's only broken on my machine issue. And it gets back to that, I kind of hope for both. I kind of hope it's easy to fix and I can do this later and show you guys how to do a PyTest properly and easily. And I kind of hope it's a hard fix, because then I feel more justified in not being able to solve it. Yeah, let's see. Let's throw out some banners here real quick. I've showed the Redis OM one. If you have questions about how to use Redis, you should come hang out with us on Discord. As a developer advocate here at Redis, one of the things that I try to stay really active in is in our Discord, and it is looking at your code and trying to help you out however we can. We've also got a great community there. Other developers will also help you out with code whenever they get the chance. You can check out their code, what they're up to. If you follow us on Twitch, you will never miss one of these live streams. I don't think I've got a banner here for our, oh, there it is. Also, if you subscribe to us on YouTube, you can get notifications for these live streams. Let's see. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it is @sav_Noren. I usually tweet about live streams, not all the time though, but I am trying to get more Twitter followers. So come hang out with me on Twitter and see the 3 things I've retweeted about Redis. You can also check out the Redis-live link on the developer.redis.com site, and you will see our full schedule for when we have planned streams and planned upcoming streaming events. So like you'll see our regularly occurring streams. I stream almost every Tuesday. We've got Steve streaming, usually in Node. No, what is Steve? No, Guy streams a lot of that. I don't, I do Python streaming, and I know what the other guys do, but sometimes it slips my mind which one's who manages what. But I stream on Tuesdays, Steve streams on Wednesdays, and Guy streams on Fridays. And then we've got some setup from Simon happening pretty regularly about how to get ready for our RU Redis University courses. Aside from that, Redis should work with PHP. Yes, absolutely. We've got a Discord channel for PHP. Yeah, so come check it out on Discord. That PHP channel doesn't have a ton of activity, but you are welcome to revive it. There have been posts. People definitely use Redis with PHP. Yeah, thanks so much for hanging out. Check us out on other social media platforms, and have a great rest of your Tuesday, wherever you are in the world.